Hello everyone, welcome back to Tech Bytes with Keshav. Previously, we discussed about using Google library json to parse API responses. Today, we will discuss about using Jackson library for parsing the same API responses. But before that, we need to understand, if we have Google JSON library, then why should we even consider for Jackson? So to answer that question, I would say that Google library JSON is based upon JSON format. So it can only parse JSON based responses. But what if the API response is coming in some another format, maybe XML based format? Over there, I believe JSON library will not pass the response. So we can consider other third party library, which can be like Jackson, right? So on that note, let's get started. So it is like previously as part of this is a sample for response API response which is coming in JSON format, right? So now let us say for the same response we want to see in that XML. So then it should be coming in something like this format, tag based. Over in JSON format it is key value. It is tag based, opening tag, closing tag, and in between that value, right? So this is XML. Certain system they are still in means rendering this in XML based format, right? So now Jackson can be used to parse API responses which are either in JSON format or XML based format, right? So now let's deep dive into it. So this is in our previous video, we discussed about this get employee and then using Google JSON, right, to parse an API response. And this is a POJO. This was a POJO, employee POJO, right? Now, as we discussed, Jackson can be used to parse an API response which is either in JSON format or XML based format. So now, first, before trying to use it, we should import that dependency, corresponding dependency also for Jackson. I've already done it. I can show it to you guys. So this can be dependency that we have to use for this for Jackson, right? Over here, I would say this we should be very peculiar about this particular version thing. It is in general. We should use the latest and the most stable one, which is not prone to vulnerabilities, right? So as I am using the Java 8 version over here, so correspondingly I have to map it to a lower version, and uh, but we have to ensure that we should be using latest stable version of this. And with regards to Java version that is installed the system, that should be compatible with that also, and with Mockito test cases also. So please carefully use this version. Okay. Now, before coming to responses part, how to parse it or things like that, we discuss about sample response, JSON format, then in XML based format. Now let's see how will that POJO classes for the same will change. Now earlier we discussed about this was a POJO previously, right? So in for JSON based, we have this POJO created last time, right? And if API key was having some different key name, then in case of JSON, we have used this annotation, serialized name. But in Jackson, it will change, right? So let's see how. So same class POJO now created for Jackson to support Jackson. Now, as Jackson can support both JSON as well as XML, So for if it is, I have demonstrated both over here ideally, but based upon if I think you will be knowing that the response is coming in which format. So either or both can be used, right? This is for Jackson. And now if the response is coming in form of JSON, then we can use this. This we will be only using if the key name is in API response is some different, but in backend we want to have some different name, right? Because in backend we will definitely prefer camel case, not this underscore format, right? So if it is like in JSON format and Jackson library we have to use, we can use instead of serialized name, we can go for @JSON property. Now, but if it is in I would say if it has to pass some XML based API response, then it can go for this. We can go for this Jackson XML property and then name like this. Again, I would say these are also case sensitive. If it is coming like small, just for example, small e and I make it as capital E, it will not be rendered. Means it will not be parsed. Okay. So this way we can have it like this. Before moving to next class, I have one more thing to discuss over here is now let us say okay, one thing would be that if there is a some defined variable name, let us say that as part of if there is sample as part of employee response, there is some phone number coming, right? And we have not defined that in POJO. JSON will handle it, right? Even if it is not defined. But in this Jackson case, I think I believe we have to be explicitly mention it that we have to for which mapping is not done, we have to explicitly tell it this write it explicitly that JSON with this annotation: JSON ignore properties, ignore unknown true. I would yeah, highly say that we have to consider this also if to avoid that. Then if this would not be there, then at runtime, then exception might be there if there is a mapping case where there is a key is found and then that is not found over here, corresponding mapping as part of POJO. So we should we can go for this also as part of in the beginning of the class, right? Now, same way we have created one this we created last time this also familiar languages, right? And now same way if you want to have it for Jackson, we I've created it for that way also, same annotation, right? And then we have it for both the cases, JSON and XML, right? So now this till here it is like uh, POJOs have been changed, a new dependency for Jackson has been added, right? Now it's time to pass the API response using Jackson, which can be either in JSON or in XML. So I've created two separate functions, one for each JSON response and for XML. Let's see that. Okay. So now over here, earlier we saw we have used this Google JSON, right? Now, now we want to pass same JSON response but using Jackson. So over here we will be using this JSON mapper as part of Jackson library. Mapper we defined, and then syntax would be like it's read value, API response, string format. Now we want to map it to which class, which POJO class. Employee POJO for Jackson, we created this one, right? Having, so it will consider this one thing. right? So this one created, and then for XML based, only change will be here we used JSON mapper, here we will use XML mapper, right? And now it will map that response. So let's see whether it is working as per expectation or not. So we have defined that it should return JSON file. Okay. Then okay. Now let's test first uh, the scenario where JSON is returned, JSON format response, and we are using Jackson to pass the same. Let's see that. JSON mapper passed it and assigned it to this POJO. Now let's see what this POJO is ready to return. Name, Keshav, ID, department, this manager, joining year, familiar with languages, true boolean values, and for null it is returning null. Now this is now if we have not if the scenario would be we have not used that would not have used that JSON ignore properties. I will tell you like that. These things. Then over here at parsing time it would have been an error, right? Because certain fields mapping of those there it is not there, right? So we can use it safely. So now for the fields that got mapped, it is having this proper values, right? And now it has been, this has been returned to this, and then same thing over here. Now one thing would be over here I would like to highlight is in JSON, right? So over there when we will try to say that serialize it like Google JSON to JSON, right? When we would like to make it to convert a POJO to a JSON string, right? In JSON case, it will automatically remove keys which are having null as value, but Jackson's behavior is totally opposite. It will include those which are having null values also. Let's see. So now here we got that result as part of this, right? So now if we want to we got the result, now we want to make it now as a JSON string. Over earlier what we use over there as part of Google JSON, we use this I would say simple. It was Google JSON to JSON employs the POJO, and we have the JSON string, right? And this was not necessary over here. And as we are over here, it would be now, yes, in this case we have to use this object mapper if you want that JSON string, right? This declared. Now as we just discussed that this will automatically bind keys with null values also. So let's see. Now this is a simple allocating memory, and then we are over here, we are converting it to JSON string, and let's see what it has to say. we can see certain fields which are having null values. Those are also coming. When this is the final JSON string that will be rendered back to the UI. Right. This is contrary to JSON's default behavior, which will automatically exclude which are not part of this, which are having null as values. But the same thing, same behavior, we can achieve with Jackson also. So over here, if the object mapper that we defined, we just have to make a small change with, we have to explicitly specify that we don't want null values to be added as part of JSON string, right? So we will make it this small change, set serializing inclusion, JSON include, not null. So it will now, this is having used over here. Let's see this. As we can see over here, no key which was having value as null is part of this final JSON string prepared. But for that, we have to make this small change as part of object mapper that we defined, right? So this was for JSON part. Now let's try it for XML part. Here it will pass XML file, right? And let's see whether that is meeting our expectations or not. Okay, in this function, it has used XML mapper instead of earlier, which was used JSON mapper. Okay, this piece of change, and then that's it. It will read the value, and let's see whether everything got passed correctly. Yes, name Keshav, ID 1001, department IT, manager Vikas, joining year 2020, familiar languages, yes, Boolean, and now over here, same thing. By default, with this, it will allow that null values, right? But if we add object mapper, if we create it like this, then it will not add that, right? So this way we can use Jackson to parse both API responses which are coming in JSON format also, and specifically for XML based also, right? So just one second. Yes, I think that was all for this video, right? So if you're new to the channel, you can please subscribe to it for more content like this on the way, and stay connected. All right, thank you so much guys for watching this.